Today's session is on the future of performance marketing. We've got a fairly loose agenda for the session. I'm going to start with some introductions of the panel and do some questions of the audience to find out who's out there. I'm going to do a very brief overview of performance marketing, and then we're going to have a panel discussion and some questions from the audience. So first off, when putting this panel together, we decided to do a panel conversation as opposed to a moderated discussion. The concept here is that we're going to talk amongst ourselves and then take some questions from the audience. And we took and have one person from each of the segments of the industry. So we've got a merchant or an advertiser, an affiliate agency, an affiliate network, and a publisher. For our merchant today, I'm glad we have Stephanie Gay to join us. Stephanie is the Director of External Online Acquisition at American Express. She and her team are in charge of acquiring new customers through affiliate marketing, media buying, and search engine marketing. They oversee all the acquisitions. She's been at American Express for 3.5 years, first 2 years in London, and now 1.5 years in New York. She joined American Express's London group, working for the international division of American Express Interactive, where she was also in charge of affiliate marketing, partnerships, and media buying. Prior to that, she's actually only worked in online marketing. In 1998, she started at an internet service provider, and from there went to lastminute.com, which was a leading travel website in the UK, where she was the 25th employee and left when they had slightly over 2,000 employees. So we're very excited to have Stephanie with us today. Kramer is with NETexponent. He's the co-founder and media director. NETexponent's a leading online direct response agency based in New York. They have managed affiliate search and media campaigns for 15-plus clients since 2001. And Chris has been in the affiliate and online marketing space since 1998, where he helped pioneer the concept of outsourced program management. Kim Riedell is the Vice President of Client Development East for Commission Junction. She's been at CJ for 5 years. She oversees the East Coast account management teams and services advertisers and publishers. Her primary focus is ensuring that Commission Junction drives profitable relationships between advertisers and publishers that contribute to sustained year-over-year growth. She's got 15 years of sales and marketing experience, including roles at Hyatt, Cisco, MCI, Lightbridge, and Student Advantage. And she was very early in the internet as well, in 1998, selling T3s for MCI along Vint Cerf. I'm the founder and CEO of Vertive. Vertive is a leading performance publisher. The company was founded in May 2003, and I moved the company to Austin in January of 2004 after 16 years in the technology business in Silicon Valley. I got involved with the internet in 1995, and spent a number of years before that in the software industry. I'm actually very active in the industry. I'm on a number of affiliate advisory boards and a longtime speaker at industry conference, and I'm on one of the working groups for the Performance Marketing Alliance. Today, Vertive is a leading performance publisher. We've got over 25 websites and about 25 people, and we're growing aggressively in the coming days. So let's find out a little bit about the audience. So let's first find out the primary business model that you represent. So what is the primary business you're in? So how many are affiliates or publishers? If you can just raise your hand. All right, you guys are going to help me count so we can percent this, right? Okay. And merchants or advertisers? So slightly more. So networks. So a few networks. Agencies or consultants. A few agencies. Vendors, other people who provide services or some type of vending to the industry. And any industry analysts? Any industry analysts? Yeah, that's one of the points that we'll make later about the lack of industry analysts covering the industry. Press or other media? Anyone from the press? We've got one press person. And other, anyone that one of those models doesn't cover? Okay. Rebecca, what would you call yourself? Other. All right. Another question for the audience about the future. How many have thought about the future of our industry longer than 1 year out? How many have actually got a plan or thought about it more than a year from now, what we think it'll look like? So about a third have done so or are willing to admit they've thought about the industry more than a year. So let's take a step back and say how many have actually done some planning and think less than a year out? How many have a plan for less than a year out? So a handful. And how many between 1 and 3 years? How many just won't answer this question in public? How many between 3 and 5 years? How many have thought about the industry or planned for it? And what about over 5 years? Anybody really thought hard about what the industry looks like more than 5 years from now? So it's an interesting question and one that's obviously a challenge. In today's panel, when we talk about the future, we're largely going to be trying to talk about 5 years out. It's not always easy to peg something 5 years out that's really just come into stride in the last 5 years, but when we're talking about the future, that's what we're going to look at doing. So quickly, an overview of the market. For today, we're going to have a conversation about the future of performance marketing. We're talking about 5 years out, as I mentioned, and we're going to have a discussion. I have a brief introduction about performance marketing, where we see it today, or primarily where I see it. I did get some input from my other panelists, but a lot of it's where I see it. First, in terms of online marketing, there's 3 forms of online marketing at the simplest sense: CPM, CPC, and CPA. When a marketer goes out to pay, they're largely paying in one of these forms. They're either going to pay for the impression, they're going to pay for the click, or they're going to pay for some type of action. For the panel today, we're focusing on the CPA portion. I also call that performance marketing. While some may call CPC performance marketing, we believe, or I believe, you can use CPC in a performance marketing campaign, but if you're paying on a CPC, that is not performance marketing. You might be doing performance marketing, but for something to fit into the definition of performance marketing, an action has to ensue, and that's what needs to be paid for by the merchant. And we'll have more dialogue about that in a moment. We see 3 types of actions: a lead or a form, a service or a subscription, and a retail or product. These are generally paid for in one of 3 ways: a sale or a lead for a lead, a per sale fee or a rev share for a service or a subscription, or a percentage of the sale for a retail product or service. While the industry often gets told how complicated we are, we think that if we can just look at these 3 forms, which are pretty simple — there's leads, there's referrals, and there's retail products — it simplifies things dramatically. So the industry started out as affiliate marketing. Websites earned a commission from sales from their links. Networks came along and accelerated the growth. The growth took a while. Some websites became very successful and focused only or primarily on CPA, or cost per action. But many of the early marketers, or many of the early publishers that put affiliate links on their websites, did not find the same success that we're finding today in the industry. The big catalyst for the growth was search. Search is really what propelled this industry to the next level. And from that, many successful marketing publishers and companies have emerged into what we have today, which is a performance marketing industry. On the publishing side, there's a variety of business models. Just to clarify, when we use a term today, it's likely that one of these will be referring to direct linking. You link directly from a search engine to a merchant. Performance publishing and performance publishers — these are publishers that build a site for the purpose of selling someone else's product or service. Niche sites or blogs. Coupon on deal sites. Oops. Nothing like using someone else's computer. And then cashback or points. We break the marketplace down into these key 5 types of business models. In terms of the business models, when a publisher works with a merchant, there's essentially 3 major categories. There's direct relationship deals, where a company will work directly with a publisher and the link will not go through any type of third party. There's affiliate networks and network aggregators, the big networks being CJ, Linkshare, and Google. There's also some lead generation networks and many small affiliate networks. And then in the other category are sub-affiliate networks. Now, sometimes these sub-affiliate networks are working through one of the big three networks, and sometimes they're working through an ad network. And then there's performance-based ad networks as well. And that's, in many ways, what I and many people I've talked to at the conference have seen as one of the big shifts in this business over the years is many of the ad networks beginning to focus more on CPA and becoming a bigger part of this industry. So very quickly, why performance marketing works. It's a win-win for the publisher and the merchant. The merchant only pays for a completed transaction, and that's what performance is. It's a cost-effective way to generate actions. In some cases, it may appear to be cost-effective. And it's not really, but it's generally cost-effective. And merchants determine how much an action is worth. It's a fairly unique aspect of this business. The merchant is deciding how much they're willing to pay. So in many cases, the merchant is the driver of the growth in the industry. And we'll talk about that more shortly. And the networks are in place, that are in place, make it very easy for merchants or advertisers to get started in this business. Just the existence of the strong networks, it's a very easy market to get started in. So one of the challenges in the market, if we look at performance marketing versus other networks, this is a study of shop.org. This is largely retail data. But the average cost per order for online banners was about $84. And this is a study that was done this year. In the affiliate market, the average cost per order is more like $12. Now again, this is retail data, but it's something we'll come back to as to the fact that the affiliate side of the business gets way less in many cases. Now, this isn't true in all markets or all segments, but is often the case and is shown and illustrated by this Forrester data. But retailers are spending more in other channels, and the affiliate channel does not always get its fair share. The other thing of note is the market size. How big is this industry? Some people don't think it matters, but the reality is when a marketer is thinking about their budget, they're often looking at things like market size to determine where they're spending their money. The publisher market, though, is extremely fragmented. Many publishers have 2 to 3 people. Some make a living, many are not building a business, and some are doing phenomenal as well. Usually, the large companies in this space are only in one category. And as Forrester points out, measuring this on the advertiser side is equally hard because many marketers, affiliate marketing is a sales or distribution channel. So they don't report it along with their marketing numbers. So if they're not reporting it along with their marketing numbers, it makes it very hard for the analysts that are looking at those numbers to then measure the market. The numbers that have been published, Marketing Sherpa spoke at the affiliate conference in 2005 and said it was a $6.5 billion industry, but to my knowledge, there was no study to back up that number. The IAB breaks out referrals and lead generation, and in 2008, they say that'll be $2.3 billion. And Jupiter put out a report recently that put it at $2.1 billion. The Jupiter report does not really have very much data in it that breaks down how they got to the $2.1 billion. But that's the numbers that we have for now. So, as we look towards the future, we're going to move on to some discussions, and we will open up the floor to discussions as well. So as we discuss things, feel free to think about questions you'd like to ask the group. So we're going to start by some definitions for a moment. Well, as I said, some CPC and CPM marketing can be looked at as performance marketing. My perspective is that the marketer who's paying on a CPC is not performing performance marketing. Perhaps the agency is, or perhaps the person who's actually doing the work is, but I refer to the industry being performance marketing and not affiliate or CPA, partly for that reason, that it's the distinction between an action and the payment on an action being fairly important. How do each of you refer to the industry now, and how do you think that will change in the future?
You know, I'm not sure it matters a whole lot. I'd love for us to all adopt, a single naming system. It would probably make our lives a little bit easier. But we're all here at Affiliate Summit, and Google just dubbed themselves the Google Affiliate Network. Performix renamed themselves Google Affiliate Network. But if you were to go to Linkshare's website, they focus much less on the term affiliate. They use performance marketing consistently. There's the newly formed Performance Marketing Alliance. So I don't know if we're ever going to agree on a single terminology. I'm not sure it matters a whole lot. It might help that figuring out just how big our market is problem, but I don't think it's going to change the way we do our jobs.
What about you, Kim?
Oh. I tend to agree with Chris. I think that performance marketing has made a name for itself. We at Commission Junction tend to refer to it as pay for performance, and I think that's a little bit more of a distinction, is you're paying for whatever whatever that transaction is that you want to do, whether that is a sale or a lead. I will say that one thing that I'm finding in the industry as I'm going out and talking to a lot more merchants is they're looking at pay for performance or performance marketing a little bit more holistically. So they're looking at things like, is a view-through really bringing that consumer to my site? And so should I be paying on that? So I think that in the future could potentially alter how we think of performance marketing. Is a view-through, or is a click, or is a banner that somebody sees really considered paying for that performance? And is there, do we change how much we allocate for each one of those transactions?
And I completely agree, sorry, with that. As an advertiser, we're trying to look at things a lot more holistically. So for me, the question about performance marketing and kind of the whole naming of it is a bit of a semantic question as well. I think particularly because I work in acquisition rather than branding. So everything I do is to drive to the ultimate performance metric, which is conversion. So I tend to refer to my channels by their channel name: affiliate marketing, search engine marketing, and media buying for ease of management, etc. But certainly the way we're moving forward is understanding how all of these channels work together. I think the boundaries are really blurring between the channels. A lot of our affiliates obviously use primarily search to drive traffic to their websites. We use search too, so how do we differentiate between the two? Some affiliates are moving to models where they have slotting fees as well on top of just a pure cost per action model. So again, that blurs the boundaries with perhaps media buying as well. So for us, it's much more about understanding what are the different touch points that a customer or prospect goes through across all of the channels that we manage until they convert, and trying to attribute a value to each of these channels.
Okay. So one of the slides we had was the Forrester research slide on just how much lower the cost per sale is in the affiliate channel compared to the other acquisition methods. And I would like to ask the panel of why we think that is, and as we move forward into the future, how this might change. Kim?
Yeah, sure. I think that it's the lowest cost per sale because you're actually seeing that transaction happen. Whereas if you look at some of those other things like banners and email, you might send out hundreds of thousands of emails and not get a conversion, or you might have banners all over the place and you're not going to actually get a conversion, or that conversion might happen somewhere else down the line. So I think it's a little bit easier to track and to manage on an affiliate channel. The one thing that I'm finding in this space is, again, talking to a lot of merchants and a lot of publishers is really profitability. They want to drive profitable sales or profitable leads. So looking at the lifetime value of a customer, ensuring that lifetime value of the customer then converts to how much they're paying, whether it's to CJ or Google Affiliate Network or Linkshare or any other network share sale, as well as how much they're paying to the publisher, and trying to balance that.
And yeah, just to add to that as well, I think yes, it's true. Although obviously the figures that we've seen were retail figures, so it looks slightly different in my industry, I'd like to say. Affiliate marketing is definitely the most cost-efficient channel that we have, and I think that's great news actually for the industry as a whole. I think the thing to think about is overall profitability, definitely very important. We manage to an overall cost per acquisition across all of the channels, but we do set some target cost per or cost per card in my case, but cost per action depending on the channels, and they drive slightly different types of customers and therefore profitability and spend in my industry, depending on whether somebody comes from an affiliate site or whether they come from search or some display advertising that we do. So for us, it's looking at it at the portfolio level, again, taking into account the channel interaction when we kind of set these maximum cost per acquisition that we're looking at. The last thing I would say is that we found that we need all of the channels. So we need to invest in all of the channels. Even if display media might look very expensive, it actually drives search and therefore drives affiliates as well. So it's very important for us to have a high-level view of all the channels at the same time.
Yeah, I think the interesting thing that creates then is that why then does the affiliate channel get the short end of the stick? Because if you look at it, sure, while some channels are going to affect other channels as well, especially in the retail space, the numbers presented are so dramatic. And I think when we look at the why it is today and how it'll change in the future, the why today is largely because it's so fragmented. If a merchant has 1,000 publishers and they're each doing 0.1% of their business, not one of those publishers has enough of an impact to increase the amount they're spending in the channel. I think there's also the challenge in that case that, especially in the retail side, the merchant's goal is to get new customers, but yet they're not equipped right now, or the marketplace isn't equipped to pay a higher fee to the affiliate who brings in a new customer. So I think what will change in the future is I think the affiliate channel or the performance channel will get a much larger share on a sale basis. I think that more studying will be done on just how much of an assist display advertising has, and I think the display prices being 5x or 6x what they are in the performance space, I think that will come way, way closer together. And I think that likewise, as bigger publishers emerge, they will be able to exert more pressure on the marketplace to fight for a larger share of the sale as we go on. And finally, that the channel will have to figure out how to track better and track so that the new customers that are brought in, that those types of affiliates are paid a higher fee than just the affiliates that just bring in any type of customer, if that is indeed their goal. If their goal is to not have new customers but just to have revenue, then perhaps they'll pay all of the affiliates more.
I was going to say, I think it'll be interesting to see how that chart changes in the next year, 2 years, just based on the fact that most merchants, as Stephanie said, are looking at this as more holistically. So where do I alter my ad spend in order to make sure that I'm getting the best acquisition? The one thing I would kind of disagree with you is that there is the ability in the affiliate channel to track the new consumers. Not every merchant does that, but there is that capability. I know for sure in the Commission Junction network there is. I can't state in all the others, but I believe Linkshare does. I can tell by Stephanie nodding her head. And a lot of them do, but I agree. I know what you're saying is some just look at it as a blanket. I'm going to get any customer I want. But there's more with that profitability. They want to get those new consumers. They want to bring them in. They want to make sure that they're gaining more acquisition.
Absolutely. But if they can track for a new customer in the retail space, how come the payment isn't done differently?
They can do the payment differently.
But it's not
happening. They may or may not. They
right.
may or may not, and some do. I mean, I could tell you five or six retailers who are doing that. They're paying differently.
That's great, because I think that trend will continue.
Yeah, I agree.
Will grow.
And I think it's industry dependent as well, definitely. Maybe retailers have a slightly different way of seeing things than perhaps financial companies or travel websites, etc. The other thing I wanted to say as well is I think that actually, in agreeing with Kim, I think we will see these costs varying over time. I actually think that display media costs are going to go down.
And I think that chart has already changed. If you were to look at where this was 10 years ago, the differential between affiliate and display was probably 20x or 30x.
Absolutely.
And the analytics tools that we have today really didn't even exist 3, 4, 5 years ago. So I think everybody's getting smarter about understanding what customers are worth from different channels. And the fact of the matter is that those other methods are just naturally more expensive. And the only other thing to consider is that affiliate typically has the unlimited budget behind it, that it's always self-producing, it's always generating its own income. Well, the display side and the search side usually have set budgets that are ultimately limited. So.
Absolutely, and I think that's why I was saying it's good news, I think, for the channel, because it is unlimited, kind of quote-unquote, budget, because it's accounted for differently in most companies. But definitely, you know, as I said, I think display media costs will lower. I think with everything's going on with the exchanges and dynamic model pricing, et cetera, I think that we're going to see that chart changing quite dramatically.
Do you actually think it's accounted for differently in most companies? Because from what we've seen, large numbers of merchants or advertisers still put this in their marketing budget, as opposed to looking this at as a cost of sale or having an unlimited budget for their affiliate program. How many of them? How many again are merchants? And the show of hands, how many of you, if you put your hands back up, if you have a budget for your affiliate program, like a monthly budget, and if the budget runs out, it's more the case in lead gen programs or in the smaller affiliates where they will have a budget and it will run out because it's really just a line item blended in with their marketing budget. How do you guys see it accounted for, and how do you see that changing?
Personally, in all my years of affiliate marketing, it's always been accounted for as a cost per sale. So that obviously makes things a little bit easier from that perspective, from a management perspective. There are marketing costs associated to it, usually our agency fees, et cetera, but in terms of pure commission to affiliates, that comes out of the bottom line, essentially, which is why we're so focused on profitability and really doing a lot of data analysis to make sure that we're not paying more than we can afford to pay.
Yeah, our clients are typically, they're direct response focused. They want results. It's not advertising or branding. It's marketing, acquisition. And there's almost never a set budget. They will set plans on what we think we're going to do. And if you do 50 times that, sometimes there's some scrambling to make sure that we can get the dollars in there. But the clients realize and the merchants realize that, you know, this is all, you know, self-sustaining. Doesn't need to come out of somebody else's budget.
Yeah, and I would say that just based on what everybody, the hands here, it's probably, you know, it looks like it was about 50-50. We see it probably about 50-50. Obviously, we would love it to be cost of goods sold. So essentially, you know, you're getting what you're paying for performance. The challenge is that some do have budgets, and it's a really big challenge in the affiliate space. And Steve, I know you and I have had this conversation. For publishers, if you're working with a retailer or you're working with a certain merchant, and then all of a sudden they say, "Oh, my budget ran out," then you have to turn on a dime to take them down or stop the campaigns. And in a situation like yourself, that's really difficult to do. You're you know, up there in SEO, you're way high ranked. What do? Just, you know, pull them out? You can't, you know, it's too difficult. So.
Yeah, Dan Murray, who's often at these panels, has an old saying that when you're figuring out your affiliate budget, to think of it this way, that you're at a slot machine and you can put in 50 cents, which is your affiliate commission, and $1 comes back. How many 50-cent pieces are you going to put into the slot machine? And that's really what the industry needs to look at is moving towards everybody having figure out the right amount you can afford to pay for an action, pay that right amount, and then not have a budget. In some lead cases, there's some challenges to that in the short term. But in the long term, I think that's where the industry needs to head, and actually I think it is where it's going to head as well, is to the concept of everybody looking at ad as a different type of channel. And that's back to why I think it's so important that it gets separated out, because it's very unique. You would not have a situation in display advertising, even if you were tracking, that you just had a completely unlimited budget. It would be too hard to manage at that level.
That's
yeah.
not the way big companies budget, though. I mean, most big companies
I think that's the challenge.
Within different divisions have use it or lose it money.
Actually, a lot of the comment was that most companies have a use it or lose it budget. Actually, a lot of really big, successful companies in this space do not have any budget for their affiliate marketing program. They've sit the CFO down, they've explained to the CFO how the industry works, and it shows up in the income statement as a cost of sale. And cost of sale, like any other inventory item, is not a budgeted item. It might be projected in cash flow statements, but the most successful merchants in this space do not have a budget for their programs.
That may be the trend, but I think the reality is the vast majority of people aren't really keeping the build that way yet.
But shutting down an affiliate program because you ran out of budget is really devastating on everybody's end, because not only does it affect the affiliate, but for the merchant to then start it back up again once they got their new budget
So much effort.
is a huge uphill task. So it is kind of our responsibility to have that education piece, and you know, it is changing some mindsets in the big
I'm finding
companies.
lately that a lot of folks are taking their budget from other places that aren't performing as well. So they're not performing as well in search, or they're not performing as well on display, and they're taking that budget and they're moving it into the affiliate network, the affiliate space, because they're saying, hey, this is where I'm performing. I'm getting great consumers, and their lifetime value of that consumer is a long time and a high value. So they're shifting their budget, and so I think to the point, yes, to your point, that a lot of folks have a budget that they have to have for each line item, but they're shifting that when they see that the affiliate channel is performing so well.
And from a budget management perspective, I mean, it would be a nightmare because it is so relationship dependent. So, obviously the whole affiliate channel, whereas search, you can turn off a campaign very, very quickly, and you can shut down media fairly quickly as well. So that's certainly the same view that we have. Okay, so the next question is, where do you see, so we've seen obviously that the industry has grown a lot. Where do you see most of the growth coming from today, and where do you think it'll come from in the future? So both in terms of small publishers versus large publishers, but also in terms of the different business models that we've seen, like direct linking, coupon sites, etc. And do you also think that there's going to be more direct relationships, or that most people will carry on working through affiliate networks and ad networks? Chris?
At the risk of offending the third of the audience that's an ad network, I actually believe that less and less volume is going to come from the ad networks. We have this transparency issue in our industry where merchants need to know who their affiliates are, and in a lot of cases the ad networks are stepping in between and not providing that transparency. There are some that do, and those I think are the ones that are going to be the most successful. But over the years, we've seen more resources on the merchant and management side to be able to work with the number of affiliates that it takes to have a successful program, lessening the need for that network or the broker in between. We do see some growth within those smaller sites. There's always new people coming into the space, innovating and doing new things. But the reality is that the rich are getting richer. We're seeing a tremendous amount of growth from the people who have really figured this out over the last couple of years and build successful businesses. They're not just one or two people working out of their homes, but they're 20, 30 people offices that have built really sustainable long-term businesses, and I think that's going to continue.
Mm-hmm. I agree with Chris in that regard. I think in the 5 years I've been in this space, I think what's been interesting is a lot of our merchants early on thought that everybody worked in their basement with their fuzzy slippers on, and I know in the past Steve's made jokes about that in other conferences by wearing his bathrobe. But the reality is there are really big businesses, and I think we spend a lot of time educating merchants that these are big businesses, and they do need the revenue source. They do need to be paid on time. They do need to be spoken to about your business plan, understand what's going on in your particular businesses so that you can work together. I think where we're seeing the majority, to go back to where we're seeing a lot of business models, right now we're seeing a lot of coupon and deal, search, SEO, and we're seeing a little bit of the technology folks in different technologies, so whether it be video or mobile. I sat on Todd's panel. I sat here and watched Todd's panel yesterday, and some of the ad networks were talking about video and a lot of the technology. And I think some of that's going to come out, but I think we're still going to have some really big publishers and some really small publishers that are going to be niche, as well as a lot of the ad networks are starting to become niche. They're doing really well in certain places, certain categories, and I think they're going to continue to do that, and I think there's a place for some of them. Steve?
Yeah, just to clarify on the bathrobe, I wore a bathrobe at the beginning of a panel presentation with a couple of other big affiliates to share with the advertisers in the audience that we did not work in our bathrobes anymore, and we had suits on underneath. But anyway, I digress. I think the interesting thing is going to be the question that neither one answered, which was the shift from direct relationships or networks. And perhaps they were touched on there, but I think that the relationship that the merchant and the publisher has will get stronger over time. And I think the payment portion that goes to the publisher, and I'm not just saying this because I'm a publisher, but the payment amount, the portion of the total fee that goes to the publisher will grow over time. And I think the role of the networks will largely become much more about tracking and reporting and account management, which is very, very hard in and of itself to do. But that it will be less about the direct servicing of accounts. I think there's other better places in the ecosystem for that to happen than at the network level. and that might be a little bit of a controversial point, but the other one to agree with, that I do agree with Chris on, is I think the big publishers will continue to grow at a much faster rate than the small publishers. I think the big publishers now have built some tremendous technologies to run their businesses and manage their businesses. They've created some economies of scale with some specialization at the employee level, and their growth rates at this point, at least the ones I'm aware of, are growing much faster than the industry as a whole. And I think that will actually accelerate over the next 2 to 3 to 5 years out, even more so.
And actually, if I may add on the direct relationship versus network, or affiliate network rather than ad network, because we don't work with ad network on an affiliate basis. From my point of view as an advertiser, I can't, and I think I'm agreeing with you, I can't really see me managing a multitude of direct relationships. I think affiliate networks are hugely important in helping us with the whole payments, reporting, tracking, the creative distribution, writing newsletters to your affiliates, or the compliance aspect of things, which is really complicated anyway as well. So I think they're hugely important. However, from my point of view, it does not stop us from having a really close direct relationship with our publishers, which is what we do. So.
I think I agree with you on a lot of the large publishers are continuing to grow, but I think I've seen in the past 6 to 8 months a couple of new publishers entering into the space who've gotten really large. I think it's few and far between, I think, to your point. But I also don't want to discourage any of the small publishers who may be here to say, hey, the bigger are gonna, the rich are gonna get richer and I'm not going to get there. I think that there is an opportunity still to get there and to make a mark in this industry. And that's the beautiful thing about it, is that you have the opportunity to work with so many different types of large brands and not have to have a relationship with every single one of them. You can work through networks. You can have that relationship, but it's at a different level, and you can be a small company and continue to grow. I know that's how Steve started out, and Steve's a phenomenal partner to us and has been doing a great job, and we know he's going to get larger as the years go on based on his technology.
The networks through the years have played a really big part in everybody's growth. Google, Linkshare, and Commission Junction have all played a really critical role. I think it is important moving forward to make sure that the networks do continue to provide value to both sides. We have seen quite a bit of complacency in our industry, and we have to make sure that we continue to innovate and that everybody's bringing value to each side.
And I think things are about, will innovating, especially with recent changes in the industry, which I know we'll talk about. But I just wanted to add, on your point, Kim, as well, is I think that's the beauty. I think affiliate marketing is kind of like the illustration of the beauty of the internet, and being able to go from a really small shop, somebody working in your bathroom, to really making it into a really large, sustainable business. And I think that's wonderful. And I think obviously the big publishers are way ahead, really innovative, and I'm consistently impressed by them. But I think there's definitely lots of kind of smaller publishers snapping at their heels as well. So it's good. It pushes the whole industry forward.
Okay. So just switching gears a little bit, in some companies, the affiliate program is managed part of the online marketing group, and then sometimes it's part of a partnership group, or maybe it's part of a whole separate organization. And then sometimes it's part of the search marketing group, sometimes it's not. So how do you guys see this? How do you see this now? And I know Stephanie's mentioned it. And how do you think it's going to change in the future?
So the way it's managed now, and the way I've always managed it throughout my career, is that affiliate marketing is one of the channels under the overall kind of online acquisition team or online marketing group. Currently I have 2 dedicated resources. I've got a team of 6 people. 2 of them are dedicated to affiliate marketing. It's a very important channel for us. We've got support from some of our business unit partners. We've got an extra 2 people also dedicated to affiliate marketing. So it's a large channel for us. What I think is important is that it is managed alongside search engine marketing and media as well, because there's so much overlap. And I've mentioned the cross-channel interaction, and this is where I see it going in the future. It's going to be, we still need to manage it in a channel-specific manner, because there are kind of specific aspects to each of the channels and the way they have to be managed, but I have somebody in my team who's dedicated to cross-channel interaction, both in terms of tracking, really analyzing the data, and then feeding that back to my channel managers so that we can make decisions across the board. So I think that's the way it's going to go, become more important.
Yeah, I think actually more and more companies will start to look like Amex in the way they run their affiliate program. They have annual conference where they invite their top partners in. They think of their top publishers as partners, not as a place that's putting up links and trying to promote cards. Not having a budget and running it alongside other programs so that when you figure out how much to pay the channel, it's not, well, what's my competition doing or what's the least I can pay? It's how do I compare the value of this channel versus other channels and figuring out the payment that way. And I think that's really where this industry will end up 5 years from now, is that every successful company in it will look much more like that model.
Yeah, and I mean, 2 or 3, even 4 years ago, everything was siloed. I mean, affiliate was completely separate from search, and search was different from display. There were different teams, different managers, and without a doubt, this is the single biggest trend over the last couple of years, and it's going to continue even more so in the future, managing everything holistically under one group. Search and affiliate, paid search and SEO, all these things work so closely together that we have tracking tools now that we never had before. It makes it much easier to understand that when I do a catalog drop, I'm going to have an increase in these other channels. When I do a display ad campaign, my affiliate numbers are going to go up, my search numbers are going to go up. So without a doubt, that holistic concept is the future.
I want to take a transition here and try to take some questions from the audience. Do we have a mic? I thought we had a walk-around mic.
That's okay.
Well, we'll repeat the question if anybody has any questions. If not, we do have plenty of other questions for ourselves. Does anyone have a question? And if you wanted to target it to one of the people on the panel, please say so. If not, we'll try to figure out who's best for that. Yeah?
Okay, so my question overall, it was about display, and you were talking about view-based versus click-based conversions, and I was just curious what your thoughts are on that.
So the question is about display, and it's about a view versus a click and how.
Or direct. So someone clicks, one example would be someone clicks on a banner and converts right there. The second would be someone clicks on a banner, interacts, goes away, converts through an affiliate or search. Another one would be you served an impression, they saw it, had no interaction.
I think it depends on what you want the channel, what you're trying to go for that particular type of advertising. So I think there's a place for all of it. I find that a lot of the advertisers that I speak with, they have all of those things and they track them differently. Where I think there's going to be a convergence is how you're going to take your budget and slice and dice it. And so is it worthwhile for you to have, and I don't know your brand, but let's just say your brand is, you have a bricks and mortar store, it's probably important for you to have that impression or that view through, because that person, that consumer may go to the store and buy something. Just like a billboard that's on the side of the road, which is very different than if you sent a direct mail piece to somebody and they had to bring it into the store to buy something. So I think there's the ability to have all of those things. It's just a matter of how do you want to spend that budget.
Yeah, and there's been a lot of studies on this. I think DoubleClick had one recently. There's no doubt in everybody's mind that that impression is somehow influencing the sale ultimately, but how much credit you give it?
It was actually value click.
Oh, sorry about that. Okay.
Just
My
so you know.
apologies, yeah. So do you give it 10% of the credit and the rest goes to another channel, or in that case was it only the view that ended up converting, or did the person view that, do a search, and then click on your brand, and then come through an affiliate? How much credit to give to each channel is a huge question that ultimately each brand is going to have to decide.
Absolutely, and I think that's why I think a lot of advertisers, certainly we are moving to really understanding that. So I believe in the concept of view-through, but I personally don't believe in the concept of view-through for 30 days, which is what I know some people take into account. I don't believe you see a banner ad and then 30 days later we can credit that banner ad for the conversion, and not even if they clicked, not even on a post-click basis. So we're doing a lot of work. We've actually finished a lot of work on exactly measuring the attribution window for view-through and post-click as well as the other channels. So we're just moving into really sophisticated kind of data mining and attribution models, which I think are really going to change the way we see things in the future.
And the affiliate channel might feel shortchanged on the commissions that they get paid, but the display people get shortchanged on the credit you know,
Absolutely.
that credit issue, that they know that there's some kind of value being driven there. And we face the same challenge in the affiliate industry, that how many impressions are being served through affiliate sites that don't ultimately get credit for a sale, but somehow influenced the end conversion.
Question back here.
Yeah, this is a question for Stephanie. Could you talk a little bit about how your team's structured, but could you talk a little bit about how your affiliate campaigns vary across products? Because I would assume that different products or different have different effectiveness through the affiliate channels that you guys serve. Small businesses, consumers, which are most effective in the affiliate channel, and how does it
Yeah, absolutely. So, oh, sorry. I think the question was around how do we manage the affiliate program differently for consumer cards versus small business cards and perhaps some of the other products that American Express offers. So in my team, so I work for American Express Interactive. So we're like a central team essentially of internet experts that service various parts of the business. Our main remit is actually consumer cards and small business cards. So we have other parts of the business like travel and gift cards, which I don't look after. So just to kind of preface that. And yeah, we do find that we work with different affiliates for consumer cards rather than small business cards. Small business card market and the small business market in general behaves very differently to consumer business. So we have specific recruitment campaigns targeted at identifying affiliates that would work particularly well for us to sell our open small business card products. But we also work very closely with some of our large publishers to try to tailor some of our offers to essentially kind of appeal to a part of their audience that might be more small business focused. So I don't know if that answers your question. But in terms of my team, I said 2 people, but we actually work equally on the small business and the consumer card business side of the.
Another question here, and then we'll move on to some others.
The panel felt that the trend for the future is for merchants to work more directly with affiliates than going through networks. As a merchant, what could I do to recruit more affiliates?
I don't know if that was necessarily
Actually, that wasn't what I was really
Yeah.
getting at. Was I think the relationships will primarily be closer. So as opposed to, right now there's a lot of people who run an affiliate program and think that all they have to do is talk to their affiliate manager and that's it. I think that the most successful companies realize that they need somebody talking to their top 20%, top 80% of their publishers. I think there is already a trend, and according to Jupiter, half of the revenue in this business goes direct. It doesn't go through the affiliate network. I think that trend is already in place. The trend I was speaking of more is, while I think that trend will continue, the growth in non-affiliate network sales will continue to grow at a faster rate than the affiliate networks. I think the bigger trend will be overall thinking of the business as partnership marketing more and having relationships with your top 5, 10, 25, 100, whatever it makes sense for you, having real relationships and real dialogue. Where, as a company ourselves, we have daily and weekly calls with some of the partners that we work with. And most of the time, it's about calls about the future. What are your plans? What can we do to grow? And occasionally, it's about more mundane operational things.
I think it's difficult for an advertiser to go out and recruit. We have over 70,000 publishers in our network. There's no way you can go out and do that. Especially, yeah, you can go out and find some of the large ones, but the smaller niche guys who are doing some really cool stuff, it's going to be difficult for you to go out and do that on your own. So working with the aggregators like CJ and Google Affiliate Network and Linkshare is still going to happen because there's no way you can aggregate all that together on your own.
That was my point, that today the networks are bringing value to both sides, and that needs to really continue. If merchants know who all the top guys are, and the networks aren't necessarily bringing new relationships or new technology or new innovation, that does kind of set the tone of these direct relationships being more likely.
But I think it's okay, even if as a merchant or as an advertiser, you essentially negotiate your own relationship and then make that go through the network as well. I mean,
that's happening more and more.
Yeah, I think really at the end of the day, it's a partnership with your affiliate network provider as well. So we happen to have a really close relationship with ours, which is Linkshare, and we work together. Sometimes it's a joint effort trying to recruit a new affiliate. Sometimes we come across a new affiliate by ourselves, recruit them, and put them on the network. And in terms of forging the direct relationship with the publishers, again, it's something we wanted to do. Linkshare helped us do that, and we're very active in terms of the relationship management with. We have to focus on the top 10 to 15 publishers, but we try to do as much as possible with them. So
We have one more question here.
Yeah, question?
Yes, I am still back at the math that you did at the very beginning, and I can't get beyond it. I wanted to ask you to segment a little bit more closely, because if I do the math at $84 for an order, and the benchmark is 5 to 6 times the value of the order, then I've got to be selling something for $400 to $500. But I'm selling something for $75, $80, and I'm using for affiliates. I'm amazed and appalled. I read the Soro reports regularly, and I didn't see that number, but I did see last year that Soro said that merchants like me are moving away from the affiliate channel. And I'm thinking, are we nuts? There's got to be more detail about the segmentation. If the prices are so big, there must be the big guys that are calculating value of a lifetime sale that can afford to pay $84 are moving away. I mean, it's as you said,
I think the point is that the data is there's so little of it. The analysts really don't follow the industry, and what they do is they take data from other channels. So, like I mentioned in the quote from Forrester, a lot of it doesn't get reported because it shows up as a distribution cost. American Express's data, it wouldn't show up as an advertising expense when somebody analyzed American Express's income statement. So a lot of the data just gets missed completely. The point of the slide was really to illustrate not that $84 is the number, because that's an average number. The point was that is a channel that most internet marketers still pay more in other channels than they do in the affiliate channel. The most successfuls in the affiliate channel or in the performance channel are not. The most successful in the channel aren't even reported in those numbers because they're putting it as a cost of sale. So they're not even making it into a lot of those figures as well, and that's one of the reasons that data looks so skewed. But if I gave an example from one or two of our partners, that's not near as meaningful as something that's out there for the whole world to see, which is what shop.org is saying. So that was the kind of the point of that illustration.
I think it emphasizes the need to manage all these things together, because our goal when we work with a client is to make sure that they're getting the most sales at the most efficient in the most efficient areas. If they can get that order cheaper through search, they should be spending every last dollar in search. If they can get it cheapest through affiliate, which is usually the case, they should be spending every dollar they can in affiliate first, moving up that ladder and spending it less and less in the least efficient channels. It's common sense. Not everybody's doing it that way.
But often the thing that gets missed as well is that it's not just about not having a budget in affiliate, it's spending to the threshold at which your increase doesn't happen anymore. A lot of top affiliates today or publishers are paying for traffic. They're building very, very robust content sites. So they're building sites that cost them money. To the extent that you can pay them more, they can actually sell more. When the channel started, it was not like that. When the channel started, it was people just threw up a link on a page, and you could pay them as little as you wanted because they compared it to how much they got on a CPC or a CPM basis. But now, there's more levers that the publishers have in order to grow the channel. So it's more important to look at really what can you afford to pay them. No really good top affiliate's going to want a merchant to pay more than they can afford, because that's not a long-term partnership. But when it's a fourth or a fifth of what's getting paid in another channel, that can be a problem. And we don't think that's what the future is. We think the future is much more about parity.
See, I think one problem that most merchants have is that they don't know. It's really hard to translate more money into more volume, and no merchant wants to overpay for something that they don't have to. So how many times do you get asked, if I give you this much more money, can you drive this much more volume? And it's got to be one of your biggest challenges. You're not going to turn away the money.
Absolutely. And you can't put all your eggs in the same basket as
Right.
well. Again, so even though affiliates might be the most cost-efficient channel, it wouldn't be very smart to stop all the other channels, even though they might be more expensive. Again, it's down to profitability, etc. But even kind of looking beyond that at offline, if you look at the cost of offline marketing, direct mail, etc., it's a lot more expensive than anything we do online. But yeah, I wouldn't argue that we should stop direct marketing. And there's a lot of things that, I've looked at, lots of data that I've looked at and data available kind of industry that shows that, direct mail still has a place and actually could help drive online conversions. So again, for me, it's about being really holistic about online education.
We have a couple more questions we're going to ask ourselves. We will stay on afterward.
Should we?
And then we will try to stick around to answer any other questions people have.
So we're going to go on to a question about what your thoughts are about the recent changes that we've had, so all the acquisitions that we've had in the industry. So just to kind of recap, in December 2003, CJ was acquired, obviously, by ValueClick. In September 2005, Linkshare was acquired by Rakuten. And more recently, in March 2008, Performix was acquired by Google, and it has now been renamed the Google Affiliate Network. So what do you make of this, and what do you think the future holds?
I think, I think one of the big things that's talked about is the Google Affiliate Network, and Google has a big name, and I think for us, for Commission Junction, and I think probably for the other networks as well, is it brings credibility. I think anything that Google has stepped their toe into has brought credibility to that channel, or that industry, whatever that may be. So I think we're really kind of excited for that, and affiliate marketing in general has kind of had a back seat with a lot of merchants. It's really come to the forefront, and I think this lends even more credibility. Where it's going to be in the future, I don't know if anybody knows. I think the one thing I can say is there's definitely going to be convergence. I think we'd all be crazy not to think that. And I think Steve mentioned there's lots of ad networks here. I think if you walk around in the expo, there's lots of ad networks. I don't know who's going to be bought, who's going to be sold, but just the fact that Google has recently purchased Performix, I'm sure that there will be other acquisitions in the near future.
Yeah, I mean, clearly the Google Performix deal has the potential to be the single biggest changing event in our industry in a really long time. I mean, besides the credibility factor, my hope is that they force innovation, that they're going to really push the envelope here and look at things in a new way, that they're going to help scale affiliate channels. People who never thought of launching an affiliate program are now going to launch an affiliate channel. It'll be much easier to plug into their systems and understand how search and affiliate work together. They have the analytics piece to it. So to me, it's really exciting, and I think it has the potential to really be one of the biggest changing forces of the next few years.
Yeah, I would agree. I think there's going to be some consolidation at the publisher side of the house as well. I think most of the consolidation's been at the network level to date, but I think you'll see consolidation at the publisher level as more publishers get to be bigger. And I think the biggest change Google's going to have on the network, on the industry, is a focus on technology and reliability. I think what they're going to do is they're going to force the industry to look at tracking and reliability of the tracking and have zero tolerance for tracking going down, and build an ecosystem around the fact that payments are made regardless of whether or not the tracking worked, if it should have worked. So if a merchant's tracking goes down, I think it's going to be the merchant's responsibility to still pay for that tracking. I think that's one of the things that Google's approach to using technology to solve will change tremendously, and the other networks will have to keep up. I think the other thing Google will use technology to focus on is conversion, and helping the merchants to focus on how they can improve their conversion. So I think it's the combination of the tracking and the conversion that this consolidation will bring more light on. Stephanie, any thoughts you have on this question?
Yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised by the consolidation either. I think it's been a trend in the industry for the past 10 years. You start with lots of smaller players and then eventually kind of whittle it down to the bigger ones. I think there probably will be some more. I'm not sure where. I think in the publisher world, definitely. Maybe even in the affiliate network kind of arena, there might be further consolidation there. Obviously, I'm very intrigued as a marketer by the Google Affiliate Network and what that might mean. And what particularly intrigues me about it is the fact that they have now the affiliate network side of the house, the search engine marketing, but also the display media with obviously DoubleClick. And so I think from a tracking and technology and the whole channel attribution perspective, this could potentially be a place where you could really see if somebody has been through an affiliate site and then come back from search and then had viewed an advert you're serving via DoubleClick in your display advertising campaign, and then eventually converted, and what the attribution is across all of that. And I think that's a really exciting thing. If they really manage, I mean, it's quite an endeavor, but if they manage to integrate all their technology together and make it very smart, which I'm sure they will, I think this will be very transforming for the industry. But I think the good news there, and I think that it will push the whole industry forward anyway, and kind of force other affiliate networks to also innovate and keep up with technology. So it's exciting times.
I think we're pretty much out of time. We'll stick around for some other discussions. If everybody can do us a big favor and fill out your questionnaire and your survey, that is how Sean and Missy decide what sessions to have at future conferences. So please fill out the comments and the ratings on those. If you still need one, there's some at the door. But again, please hand those in. And if anybody does have other questions, feel free to come up and ask us individually. Thanks again.